So I was thinking, okay, will we find those two different groups? Because that means if you have two different groups procrastinating for two different reasons at two different levels of stress, you would treat them very differently. And that may be what we're seeing. So here's what we did. I'll just go through. We were very fortunate that one of my colleagues, who we weren't able to hire, though we wanted to, she went to Lakehead with Sonia. And we got Lakehead as well as Trent University, mainly first-year students. We had over 500 participants. So these first-year students, a huge proportion of them were female, and that's just the nature of psychology in universities. But they were taking intro psych. They participated as part of, they get course credit. Now, we looked at this group at the first half. So this is January to reading break, the second quarter, like the winter quarterly. Okay, so we captured people at that time. So they've come off of the winter break. So they've been home for the winter break, December, and they've just started the second semester. What we found is that in our group of Trent and Lakehead students, 77% of students said they procrastinated. 72% said they procrastinated to the point they were worried about their grade. That's a large portion. My gosh, we have impulsivity issues, don't we? And people who can't use a calendar, apparently. This was very interesting to us, is that we found that students' stress levels were quite high generally, but they varied quite a bit. So we measured stress along with their procrastination and how worried they were about it. We found 3 types of procrastinators. All right. So the first type is that low stress group. On stress scales, they were fairly unstressed relative to other students, and that included non-procrastinating students. So they were low compared to any other student in terms of their stress level, but they procrastinated a lot. And when they said they procrastinated, they said things like, I'm not worried about it, I'm waiting for more information, my friends aren't worried, I have other things that I'm doing, I'll work on it closer to the deadline. Or I get a kick out of the adrenaline, or I need that adrenaline rush of the night before, kind of thing. That was we called them the social butterflies because they engaged a lot in social activities unrelated to academics, we also found that overwhelmed group. That overwhelmed group was very high, higher than the average student in terms of stress, and they were very, very strong procrastinators. They were very likely to procrastinate. And when they procrastinated, they said very different things. They endorsed items saying, I am really worried about how my prof is going to react to this. I'm worried about being judged by my prof. I am worried that I don't know enough. I am worried that I'm not good enough. So these students were really apprehensive about engaging in academics and doing the work. We found a third group. Now this group was really interesting. We only used a state state anxiety or stress scale. They didn't show up as high in stress. They were a little bit higher than average, but not a lot. But they were the worst procrastinators in terms of being worried about it and acknowledging it was really a problem and being very concerned about that. They were the highest of all. So they were kind of in the middle here. A little above normal, but very high in procrastination. When we looked at the kinds of items that they endorsed, they said, I just don't have the energy. We actually asked students to complete measures of allostatic stress. Have you been gaining or losing more than 10 pounds? Are you sleeping? Are you engaging in activities with friends and family? Are you having conflict with friends and family? They endorse those items quite high. And what I am very concerned about is that group represents, we called them low energy because we don't have enough measures on them, but I suspect that they're in burnout, allostatic stress. So their problems are now affecting them physiologically, emotionally, socially, pro-socially. So they've begun the shutdown process. I suspect if I had talked to that young lady who was weeping in front of me, she was in burnout.